Hello, good evening. Another week and another show. Tonight, I'm honoured to be joined by head coach of Leicester Riders, Mark Jarram. He's also the assistant coach at Leicester Riders and the Team GB under 20. So I'm really looking forward to chatting to him about his coaching journey and a bit about the Loughborough family. To say it's people don't know, there's sort of a pathway that runs from the grassroots childhood up to NBLD once Loughborough and then on to the BBL for Leicester Riders. Thanks for coming on, Mark. It's great to have you on the show. I thought maybe we'd start with your journey into coaching and some of your thoughts about what were the challenges for you when you started your coaching journey, whether in today's game, if you think it's easier or tougher for players getting into coaching than it was when you started out.
What a way to start. I mean, thanks
Yeah,
for having me on, Chris.
that's
It's a
all right.
pleasure to be on and talk some hoops and talk the journey with you. Um, yeah, I mean, it all started for me as a player. I'm kind of fortunate enough to be in a situation where I'm originally born and raised in Loughborough. So it's pretty neat to come full circle and be a part of the program that I was a part of as a player and as a junior. So yeah, it all started there. I was playing junior hoops for the Leicester Riders Colts, we were called back then, and I had the opportunity to be a part of the Burley College Academy, which is now rebranded to Charnwood, and no, it's not like it is now. I wish I was a part of a program back in the day, so to speak, like it is now, and yeah, that built the foundations for me in terms of building the passion for the game. And I was a decent player, but I knew that I wasn't really going to have a career in basketball as a player. And that point of realization happened when I was at the University of Worcester. So I did try and get a scholarship out to the US, and that fell through. So I ended up going to Worcester University here, which at the time was a massive powerhouse for university basketball in those years. And my final year, actually, I decided to switch from playing to coaching, and that was kind of the point of realization I was having that I referred to of I'm not going to make it as a player. I want to stay in the game. I want to stay pursuing opportunities to stay in the game, and coaching was it for me. So we were fortunate enough to win the Bucks championship that year with Worcester, and that really kind of lit a fire under me to pursue that career. And again, another fortunate situation where as soon as I graduated, I was able to spend 3 years in the US at a Division III school in upstate New York, which was Bard College. And yeah, from there, I returned the summer of 2012. Was obviously London Olympics year, and Drew Sullivan was coaching Loughborough at the time. So he had, as GB captain, he had some other priorities during the September months, and I was around, and we kind of did a Leicester Riders and Loughborough pre-season. So that was when myself and Rob Paternostro really got connected, and I knew Rob well before I left, but that was the first kind of time I got to really work with him in that 2012 time. And from that point, that first year, Rob asked if we could find a situation where I was able to stay around and be his full-time assistant, which we were fortunate enough to make happen. So that first year, 2012, 2013, I was doing some community coaching for the Riders, but really focused on just being the full-time assistant for the Riders. And yeah, that was a fantastic year. We had a heck of a roster that year, and we did the treble. So it was great to have an impact onto that and kind of bring in the learnings from the US to our environment. And I took care of a lot of the game prep and preparing for opponents and chopping up video, and that was kind of my main responsibility during that time. And challenging Rob, it was a unique situation for him where he hadn't had too many assistant coaches, and there's a lot of people that are in that situation in the UK where they're on their coaching journey and they are one man band, and with a lot of people will be able to relate to that. So it's just great to have another person to check and challenge you, and it's a big part of the journey to be influenced by others. And yeah, that's kind of a brief snapshot, and here we are. I did Charnwood for a year. I was actually doing all three. I was rider's assistant, head coach at Charnwood, and head coach at Loughborough for 1 year, and I almost dropped dead. But just moving from one practice to another. So yeah, we brought in more staff to get ramp up every area of our program, and yeah, here we are, 8 seasons later, and a lot of success, but a heck of memories and bonds that will last a lifetime.
Of course, and the bit you mentioned about sort of being a one-man band, it's quite a lot. From more I learned about British basketball, there's so many stories where there's people who are sort of head coach from lots of different parts of the organisation, and it always surprises how hard people behind the scenes work and the work ethic involved bringing the product. I say you mentioned in that the lovely detail there about how it's such an enviable program now. I thought maybe we could look a bit in deeper that, because I think it's quite a unique property, but the Leicester Loughborough Charnwood property it is, and there's so many bits that are really well. If that's like the social media from Joe Pinchin, what he built up before going stateside, but obviously the fan base, and obviously an amazing product. So I thought maybe for you, maybe it'd be great if you sort of talk a bit more about that and what you think worked really well in the early days when you got there to build it into what it is today. Because you say obviously you'd love to be involved today as Claire, as obviously that journey progressed a bit to make it today.
Yeah, I tease the players a lot, and they're really lucky and fortunate to have what they have, and I genuinely really wish I was a part of a program like this when I was at their age. And it's definitely gone through ups, downs, highs, lows. There's been the good days, the bad days, the days when you kind of sit there and think, am I doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? And there's the other days where there's such jubilation, and it comes with its challenges. But I think some of the things that really worked well for us is there's always a team above you and a team below you. So throughout the pathway, it's great that you can have an outlet based on what your needs are as a player, and we've had different player movement throughout. So if you're in the right circumstances and situation and where you sit within the program, there's always a team above you that you're aspiring to be in, and there's always a team below you with players that are trying to take your spot. So it's a very healthy, competitive environment, and there's always role models to look up to as well. So obviously at the top of the tree in our BBL team, there's some great players, but even better people that have really been spearheads for the rest of our program to really look up to. And often you got guys in different roles and scenarios. Some are students and some are full-time professionals, but either way, there's always somebody you can connect with and pick their brains about. And we've had a lot of people that have flourished in this type of environment where they have the opportunity to do that.
I think it's very true. I think it's very motivating, like the carrot, sort of for the players to look on to see where they can progress to. Is very good. I personally would love to see a lot more countries go that route where they sort of have that carrot of motivation to develop the British game as a whole. Personally, I think there's a lack of British players in the BBL, but I obviously understand a lot of clubs look at sort of short goals, i.e. to get the title instead of development. But I imagine having a franchise like Leicester where you got more in-house, it makes it easier to play a pathway. I was wondering whether you think more clubs should do that, or is it maybe not suited for everyone? They have to have certain circumstances in place, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult to really to judge anybody because we're all in such different situations, and what we do is not achievable for other teams potentially because it's just that's their situation, and that's the environment that they're in, and there's different partnerships involved, and we're very fortunate that there's a ton of different partners involved that are all willing to support, and we have a shared vision. But yeah, it's hard to really say about other teams and other programs, because we're all on our own journey, and we're all got different visions and missions, and we're just really proud of what we're able to do. And I think if it can be replicated, great. But we understand that it's not the right thing for everybody, and yeah, I'm often like a proud dad when some of those younger British guys step onto the BBL floor and are able to contribute. And I also see my role is I'm just a custodian of those years that they're with us. So I understand that when they come into our program, they're not the finished product, and when they leave the program, they're not the finished product. But their time with us is what I really want to maximize, and see how far we can push and challenge them. And we talk about life after Loughborough a lot, and we say, what are you going to do after your time with us, and are we helping prepare you for that? And not just from the world of basketball, but the world of life too. That's a big part of me, and the way I'm wired as a coach is giving them the life lessons. And they're all going to become a pro at something. It might not be basketball, but they're going to be a pro engineer or a teacher or a CEO or all these fantastic jobs that they're going to be able to pursue. But and after basketball as well, of course. So yeah, it's a unique situation.
It sounds very motivating. I'm sure the players are very focused on their goals, whether it be basketball or elsewhere. You said about being proud. I maybe thought we could talk a bit about the sort of trophies and championships that you've won with either Loughborough, the Bucks, or in the NBL. To be quite a few. And I want maybe some of your proudest moments and what competition to win meant the most to you personally, or as a collector, as a team.
Tough question. Really tough question. Joe, I often reflect back. You always remember the first ones, right? So the Patrons Cup was our first major win as a program in terms of that up and coming Loughborough team, and the first Bucks Championship was always a big one. So you definitely do remember the first, because they are that, and you've been striving towards them. But they all mean something different, because every year is a different group, and it's been a different dynamic and a different season and a different journey within that season. So, winning, you look back and you're like, yeah, it was great. And I really personally enjoy the times when I can take a step back and I get to watch them enjoy it. Like I really like that. But I also have to be mindful that, okay, we have had a lot of winning, which is great, but for some people, that's their first. Yeah. And if it's the fourth for one of the players in the team, it still might only be the first for that one guy. So I have to be mindful of that situation and that dynamic of, like, you can never be in a situation where you take anything for granted. And we were talking just before we went live about I think getting to the finals are the really toughest part. Once you're there, you can really enjoy it, and it's a 50-50 in a final. Whoever shows up well on the day, they get to do that. And I've learned from that too. We failed in our first. We lost our first Bucks final appearance. We lost our first final appearance in NBL. We lost the playoffs to Manchester Magic that one year. Got our ass kicked. So we learned from that. They're not just gonna happen. You have to go through those teachable moments and those learning experiences. So for me, I've just enjoyed that process and the pursuit of getting to the final, and creating the environment and the mindset and the players in order to help us do that. But yeah, it's been fun for sure.
I can tell. Just listening to your passion is sort of transferring across the screen. I can definitely hear it. And I definitely to see how you get your players motivated to get to those finals. So it was obviously a shame. Not many people know, but some people might know. So I don't think the Bucks always get the same recognition as other tournaments. But you guys were on the cusp of a 5-peat. That would be an amazing sort of accomplishment. But I think even what you've done already, the fourth Pete, as well as getting a team into the NBLD1 was a massive success. Well done on that, and obviously everyone behind the scenes, the players. And you talked about some of the journeys. I didn't remember if any players stood out for you, but it's done a really big journey in terms of the Loughborough family as such.
Um, there's a couple guys that stick out, in the early days, the Connor Washington and the Jamel Anderson kind of era of those guys they were playing for the Riders alongside studying at the same time, and they were young and up and coming at that moment. So I think for us to be in a situation to help provide them that professional outlet as well as studying, so they were able to um, get an outlet where they were a minor role and a major role in the same season for different teams. And I think that really was a big piece to their journey. I think another couple is like a Reese Pinnock, who's been with us for 5 years. And it would have been crazy for him to win a Bucks championship in all the years that he was here, and
Of course, yeah.
the journey he's gone on from when he first arrived to now as he's getting ready to leave us, and just that whole maturation story has been phenomenal. Jonas Dietrich is one. He's got an
Yeah.
incredible story of arriving to Loughborough and being put in the third team, um, and then 18 months after that, making his way up to his first team with myself and the guys, and then becoming captain of the team, and then eventually, appearing for the BBL Riders this year. And again, doesn't happen overnight. It's been 5-year journey for him, and he's one that has an incredible drive and a hunger to just get better every day. And yeah, it's cool to play my part within that process. And there's a ton more examples, and like the Max and
Of
Lucians
course.
who have gone on to continue playing in Europe, and Levi's and all those guys.
It's
I'm
hard to think
really
young.
I'm just humble. I'm humbled that we're in an environment where we can actually achieve that. And I see myself very lucky and fortunate to be in this sort of position. But yeah, I pull myself into it so we can help those guys along the best we can.
Of course, I say thanks for coming on. It's really great to get your insight, and it's great to celebrate one of the many positive stories going on in British basketball, shining a light on the Leicester Ryder family. Thanks for coming on. It's great having you on, and I wish you all the best for next season. I thought maybe we could finish on maybe your sort of got me interference there. Sort of advice for people how you sort of been getting through this difficult. I know a lot of coaches didn't assume. I didn't know any of the great reflections from those Zoom chats you had that you'd like to finish on.
Yeah, I mean this is all new in different times during this quarantine, right? So um, I think there's been an overwhelming amount of things to do. So the amount of webinars and stuff that's happening online, and it's been a really unique situation. But to always have something to look forward to, I think is key. And it, it's okay to have really productive days and have some days where you're not so productive, because I've definitely fallen into that trap. um, and I've felt like, man, I didn't really get much done today. And there's been other days where I've been a machine and firing things out and doing what I need to do. But yeah, connecting is a big one. So make sure you're
Yep.
connecting, staying connected with family, with friends, with other like-minded people that are in your profession. That's what's been great about the coaching community. There's been so many opportunities to speak to other coaches and talk the game. But yeah, always have something to look forward to. Get out when you can within
Yeah.
the rules. So I've taken up running, which has been pretty neat, and hopefully I continue running once we're kind of in whatever world we're going to be in once the situations change. But yeah, it's definitely unique and different, and hopefully we'll all be better when we get to the other side of it.
Of course, great message. Austin, before I finish, I just want to let people know what's going on for the rest of the week. So tomorrow I've got head coach of Essex Hearts Leopards, Thomas Baker on. I've also got the day off on Wednesday, but CJ Levy on, talking to another coach. Thursday will be reflecting on British history. There's a lot of great content out there. For highlights of the best bits. But on Friday, I've got Team Soviet Teschels, Travis Charles on the show. So that'll be a great chat. And Saturday's just to be confirmed, as I say. Still trying to find someone fit that Saturday evening show. But thanks for coming on and keep safe, and I hope you'll do well and all the best for the future. Take care. Bye. Goodbye from us.